Hello! In this video, we're going to go through and do a MANOVA with the research scenario, is there a difference in self-efficacy score and grit score based on leadership style? So in terms of our numeric variables, we do have self-efficacy score and grit score are our numeric variables. They're also our response variables. So we do have two response variables, self-efficacy and grit, and they are numeric. And then we have four groups, and that's our leadership style. That's our categorical variable. And so we have transformational, transactional, servant, and visionary. So our four groups that make up our one categorical variable of leadership style, and then we have our two numeric variables that are our response variables. Now let's go ahead and do that in G-Power. So we start with, and oh, hold on. Like where did it go? Hold on. There we go. There it is. Okay, so remember we always start with the t-test. It just defaults to t-test, but we're going to go ahead and change it to an f-test. And this time we're doing a MANOVA global effects. So MANOVA global effects, always doing a priori. Remember, a priori means that you're trying to determine the sample size before you collect data. And that's what we are always doing because we can't even collect the data until we do this and get IRB approval. So literally, you have to do it a priori before you can collect your data. For effect size, unlike in previous ones, they just give you the default effect size. They don't give you any range of options. So you can just go ahead and leave that there. Don't mess with it. Our alpha error probability, always 0.05. Our power is automatically going to be, and that's strange. I'm not sure why it went to 0.80. Normally it's 95, but we do want it to be 0.80. So I don't know if it's just because I had it changed before, but make sure that it's 0.80. It could be 0.8. You're going to get the same answer, whether it's 0.8, 0.80, but it does need to be 0.8 or 0.80. It can't be 0.95. Now our number of groups, remember this is for that categorical variable. There are four: transformational, transactional, servant, and visionary. And for our response variables, we have two right there. So we're going to go ahead and click calculate. And you can see that our total sample size for this MANOVA, for this research question, is 116. So what would happen if we took it down? Let's say we only had three groups. What if we got rid of visionary leadership and we just had transformational, transactional, and servant? If we did that, we can see that our total sample size would actually go down a little bit. But what if we upped our response variables and included, I don't know, income to see if there's a difference? If we went ahead and added that in there, you can see that it goes back up. And I hope that just kind of shows a little bit of that interplay between the number of groups and the response variables and that total sample size. So depending on what you're looking at for your research question, your number of groups could cause things to go up, while number of response variables could also cause things to go up. So if we change that to 4, interestingly enough, 4 and 3. So it's not a direct relationship right there. I mean, there is a relationship, but it's not just if they keep going up the sample size. Because now, if you have number of groups as 4 and response variables 3, it actually goes down to 88. So it's not a perfect relationship, but there is something happening there behind the scenes, which is why it's important to test this out in G-Power, just so you know, like, hey, I'm going to need 88 versus 114. That can make a big difference. Let's go ahead and take a look at writing this up. So for the written results, remember this is for our class discussion, or if you were doing an IRB or your chapter 3 of a quantitative dissertation, you will need this type of written response. So you need to give the research question scenario, that it's a MANOVA, so it's very important that you say what type of test you're doing. You want to make sure you include the purpose of using G-Power. So I know we talked about it in previous lectures, but include what the purpose of using G-Power, and make sure to add your own citation and put things in your own words. For the write-up for this research question, a G-Power analysis was done a priori to establish a rigorous sample size. You would include power, effect size, and your alpha. The results from G-Power indicated a minimum sample size of 116. And then see Appendix X, and you do need this G-Power output. So For the discussion, you need the G-Power output. For your IRB, for Chapter 3 of a quantitative, all of that, you do need the G power. So make sure you get a screenshot of that G power output. So that's it. And if you have any questions, let me know.